Let me ask you something powerful. What do you really want? Not what your parents want, not what society told you to chase, but what your soul is screaming for when no one else is watching. The truth is, most people spend their lives climbing a ladder only to find it's leaning against the wrong wall. Today, that ends. This isn't about dreaming anymore, it's about doing. It's about unlocking the psychology, the mindset, and the strategy that gets you what you truly want for real this time. Let's dive in. Step 1, clarity is power, and most people go through life without ever truly defining what they want. They speak in vague terms. I want to be happy. I want more money. I want a better life. But let me ask you this. What does happy look like to you? What does more money mean? $10, 0 cents more. $10,000, 0 cents more. $1 million? Without specificity, your brain has no target to lock onto. It's like there's no target, there's no direction. You end up spinning your wheels, moving fast, but going nowhere. Clarity isn't just about having a vision board or writing a wish list. It's about getting radically honest with yourself about what you want and why you want it. It means stripping away what other people told you should matter. It means cutting through the noise of expectations, of fear, of conditioning, and tuning into that inner voice that knows exactly where you need to go. When you're clear, the mind gets focused. And when the mind is focused, it becomes a magnet for ideas, opportunities, and action. Imagine standing in a fog. You can't see more than 2 feet ahead, so you hesitate, you stall, you doubt. Now imagine that fog lifting. Suddenly, you see the road. You know where to step. You know what to avoid. That's what clarity does. It removes the emotional and mental fog that clouds your decisions. Clarity turns confusion into conviction. It transforms hesitation into momentum. And here's the truth. Clarity doesn't just show up. You create it. You carve it out by asking yourself powerful questions. What do I really want? What does that look like in detail? What would it feel like? Who would I become if I had that? What's the cost of not going after it? Most people never do this work. They never sit still long enough to define what winning looks like for them. And as a result, they chase shadows, they react instead of lead, and they settle for lives that are far beneath what they're capable of. Step 2, raise your standards. Every transformation begins the moment you say, I'm done living like this. That moment when you draw a line in the sand and raise your standards is the turning point between who you've been and who you're capable of becoming. The results you see in your life right now, in your health, your finances, your relationships, are not the result of your goals. They're the result of your standards. What you've decided is acceptable and what is not. You don't always get what you want, but you will always get what you must. There's a big difference between wanting to be fit and making it a must to be fit. There's a world of difference between wanting more income and demanding that you create it. The moment you raise your standards, everything begins to shift, not because life becomes easier, but because you become unwilling to settle for less. Raising your standards doesn't mean being perfect. It means refusing to tolerate the excuses, the old patterns, the low energy habits that kept you stuck. It means trading comfort for growth. It's looking at the parts of your life you've been avoiding and saying, that's no longer acceptable. Not for me, not anymore. It's about becoming the kind of person who doesn't just hope for change, but expects it and lives in alignment with that expectation every single day. Your standards are the thermostat of your life. If you've been living at a certain level emotionally, financially, or spiritually, it's because that's where your internal settings are locked in. But here's the key. Thermostats can be adjusted. And when you raise that internal setting, when you raise what you believe you deserve, what you're willing to work for, what you're committed to doing, your actions follow. Your results rise to meet you. People start treating you differently. Opportunities you couldn't see before begin to appear because you're finally on the frequency that matches your true potential. Raising your standards requires courage. It means saying no when it's uncomfortable, holding yourself to a higher level even when no one's watching, and surrounding yourself with people who challenge you to grow, not enable you to shrink. Most importantly, it means letting go of the identity that was tied to your old limits, the version of you that made peace with mediocrity, that feared judgment, that played it safe to avoid failure. That version has to go if you want to live in alignment with the life you say you want. Step 3, comment in your mind. Your mind is like a garden. Whatever you plant consistently is going to grow. If you're not deliberately conditioning your mind every single day, then you're leaving it open to weeds, fear, doubt, procrastination, limitation. The world is already throwing enough negativity, uncertainty, and noise at you. If you don't take control of your mental state, it will be controlled for you by your environment, by your past, by your worst day instead of your best self. Conditioning your mind means training it like a muscle. It's not a one-time event. It's a daily practice. Just like going to the gym strengthens your body, mental conditioning strengthens your ability to stay focused, resilient, and empowered, even when life punches you in the face. It's about deliberately choosing the thoughts you dwell on, the beliefs you feed, and the emotional states you live in. Because if you don't decide how you feel, your circumstances will. Think about high performers, elite athletes, visionary leaders. They all have one thing in common. They don't leave their mindset to chance. They read, they listen, they visualize, they declare affirmations. They put themselves in empowering emotional states on purpose. Why? Because they know success isn't just about what you do. It's about the state you're in when you do it. Your emotional state drives your behavior, and your behavior drives your results. If your mind is cluttered with fear, hesitation, and overwhelm, your actions will be inconsistent and weak. But if your mind is fueled with certainty, gratitude, vision, and purpose, you'll act with power. And when those old limiting thoughts come up, and they will, you train yourself to interrupt them. You replace "I can't" with "how can I?" You replace "what if I fail" with "what if this works?" This isn't about lying to yourself. It's about rewiring the patterns that have kept you small. It's about building mental muscle so strong that even when doubt whispers, your belief shouts louder. Step 4, massive action beats perfection. Perfection is the enemy of progress. So many people spend their lives waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect plan, the perfect version of themselves before they take action. And in doing so, they waste years of potential. They rehearse, they prepare, they overanalyze, they drown in hesitation and call it strategy. But the truth is, nothing changes until you move. Thinking about the gym doesn't get you in shape. Studying wealth doesn't make you rich. Reading about confidence won't make you courageous. Only action creates results. Massive action isn't just about doing a lot. It's about creating unstoppable momentum. It's the willingness to move forward even when you don't have all the answers, even when it's messy, even when it's scary. Because clarity doesn't always come first, it comes from doing. When you start moving, when you put yourself in motion, you begin to learn faster than you ever could from the sidelines. You adapt, you adjust, you grow stronger. But if you're obsessed with getting it perfect, you'll never take the first step, and that first step is everything. Perfection is rooted in fear. It's the disguise that fear wears to look respectable. I'm just not ready yet. I want it to be just right. That's fear talking. That's the voice that wants you to stay safe, hidden, unexposed. But the people who succeed, the ones who create real impact, they act before they're ready. They launch the idea, they start the business, they step into the arena knowing they might fail, but trusting that they'll figure it out as they go. Because I know that execution will always beat elegant theories sitting in notebooks. Massive action creates feedback. And feedback is how you learn what works and what doesn't. It's how you course correct, fine tune, and evolve. You don't need perfect conditions. You need movement. The plane doesn't lift off the ground at full speed. It starts by rolling down the runway. That's what massive action does. It builds momentum. It gets you off the ground, and once you're in the air, you can steer. You can shift direction. But none of that is possible if you're stuck obsessing over the best takeoff strategy on paper. When you take massive action, you build confidence, not because you've mastered everything, but because you've proven to yourself that you're not going to be held hostage by fear. You begin to develop an identity, not someone who waits, but someone who executes. And when your identity shifts, your life shifts. The moment you stop waiting for perfection and start demanding progress, you tap into your true power. Leverage pain and pleasure. Every decision you've ever made in your life, every habit you've built, every dream you've chased or abandoned comes down to two forces, pain and pleasure. These are the twin drivers of human behavior. We move toward what we associate with pleasure, and we move away from what we associate with pain. The problem is, most people are running these patterns unconsciously. They're being controlled by pain and pleasure without ever realizing it. But once you learn how to leverage them, you take back control, and that's when real change becomes possible. Most people don't fail because they're not capable. They fail because they've linked more pain to taking action than to staying stuck. Think about it. Why do people say they want to lose weight but never follow through? Because in their minds, the pain of working out or giving up comfort foods feels greater than the pleasure of being healthy and energized. It's not about willpower. It's about associations. Until the pain of staying the same becomes greater than the pain of change, nothing happens. But the moment you flip that, the moment you wire your brain to feel more pain in remaining in mediocrity and more pleasure in becoming your best, that's the moment you ignite lasting transformation. You have to use this force deliberately. You have to condition your nervous system to feel the real cost of inaction, not just intellectually, but emotionally. Ask yourself, what will it cost me mentally, physically, financially, spiritually if I don't change? What does it cost my family, my future, my self-respect? Get raw, get intense, don't sugarcoat it. Feel the pain of regret before it becomes real. Because pain can be a powerful motivator when it's used with purpose. But don't stop there. Link pleasure to the outcome you want. Imagine it vividly. See yourself living that life strong, fulfilled, powerful. Feel what it would be like to wake up energized, to look in the mirror and love who you've become, to live with freedom and certainty. When that image becomes more emotionally compelling than your excuses, your behavior starts to shift automatically. You won't need to force yourself. You'll be fooled. This is not just some motivational gimmick. It's how your brain works. Your subconscious is constantly scanning for what to avoid and what to pursue. If you don't take control of that programming, your past pain or temporary comfort will run your life. But if you start consciously conditioning new associations, you can rewire your emotional patterns. You can train yourself to feel pain when you procrastinate, when you play small, when you break your own word. And you can train yourself to feel massive pleasure when you follow through, when you push your limits, when you show up fully. Step 6, MLOs, those who've done it. Success is not a mystery. It leaves clues. There are people out there right now who are already living the life you want. They've built the business you dream of, mastered the health you're chasing, cultivated the relationships you admire. The fastest, most powerful way to accelerate your growth is to model those who've already done what you want to do. Not copy them blindly, but study them strategically. To learn their mindset, their habits, their rituals, their decision-making frameworks, why reinvent the wheel when someone else has already built the vehicle? Modeling isn't about idolizing someone. It's about decoding results. It's about breaking down what works and applying it to your own life. If someone has achieved lasting success, you can be sure it didn't happen by accident. There's a pattern. And if you can understand that pattern, internalize it, and adapt it to your unique situation, you collapse time. You shortcut years of trial and error. You bypass the wasted energy of guesswork. And you get to build on their foundation instead of starting from scratch. But here's the catch. Most people never model because their ego gets in the way. They want to do it their way. They confuse originality with effectiveness. But in the real world, results matter more than pride. If someone's already done what you want to do, and they've done it well, why not learn from them? That doesn't make you less, it makes you smart, it makes you efficient. Modeling is how the most successful people in any field rise. They learn from mentors, coaches, examples, and expand from there. To model effectively, you need to observe more than just the surface. Don't just look at what someone's doing. Now, look at how they started. What was their mindset when they had nothing? How do they push through fear, rejection, failure? What were the daily practices that built their foundation? What sacrifices did they make that others weren't willing to? You're not just replicating the results, you're understanding the psychology that created those results. Modeling also means proximity. Who you spend time around massively influences your standards, your beliefs, and your trajectory. If you surround yourself with people who are playing the game at a higher level, you naturally elevate your thinking. You start to believe more is possible. You adopt higher standards. Your conversations shift from problems to possibilities. Success becomes normal, not something distant and unreachable, but something you're immersed in every day. Even if you don't have direct access to mentors in person, you can still model through books, podcasts, interviews, courses. The information is out there. The strategies are available. You just have to be willing to seek them out, humble enough to learn and disciplined enough to implement. Modeling gives you a roadmap. It gives you leverage. It gives you power. Because when you can see the path clearly through someone else's footsteps, all you have to do is walk it with your own fire. Let me leave you with this. Getting what you really want isn't about luck, talent, or waiting for the perfect time. It's about taking full ownership of your life right now. It's about getting crystal clear on your vision, raising the standards for what you'll accept, and conditioning your mind to focus like a laser. It's about breaking free from perfection and moving with purpose. It's about learning to master the forces of pain and pleasure that already govern your decisions, and it's about humbling yourself enough to learn from those who've already carved the path. Here's the thing, this isn't theory, this is transformation, because when you change your mindset, you change your behavior. When you change your behavior, you change your results, and when you change your results, you change your destiny. The question is no longer, can you get what you really want? The real question is, will you decide to?